community outreach worker in our school community is invaluable and has been for a number of years. Their ability to move within worlds in terms of creating linkages to other departments within the province at that sort of higher level, but also in terms of supporting students and their families on the ground, whether it's something as immediate as someone needing shoes to play basketball or a drive to get to a doctor's appointment. School's outreach worker handles all of that.
There's no day that's typical. It starts out, we have a framework plan depending on what people's needs are and where we're needed at the time, but that could turn on a dime.
So basically for this year, what I've mainly focused on is a lot of after-school programming, getting things up and running in the schools that I'm in, really listening to what the students want, trying to develop programs that fit their needs and things that they would like to see in their schools. Things like homework clubs, after-school programs, physical activity, some music, art programs, that sort of thing. And then just really building those relationships with all of the students in our schools, as well as the staff.
One of the biggest things I've learned in my position here, you really need to be with the kids where they're at. You need to go down and pick them up from the school and walk up with them or bring them to whatever activity you're trying to get them to participate in. So just doing whatever you can, and it doesn't hurt to have some food.
SchoolsPlus Community Outreach has a number of hats they wear. One is direct service and support to families that are referred through the school team. Yeah, I think that's probably the best part, is the reward of people feeling like I'm not going to be judgmental and that I can be trusted and I can help them problem solve and deal with conflicts within their home.
We support the children in our classroom, support their families, and specifically to support the most vulnerable children. Although the program is designed for everyone in our school community, it's those children, youth, and families that express vulnerabilities that I'm really interested in supporting. So I think SchoolsPlus right now is a vehicle to do that.
It is helping the schools to now become trauma informed, that these children that are coming to school, and if there's things going on at home and there's things from their past happening, and then we expect them to come into school and sit still and do their work and not be a bother. Being trauma informed and SchoolsPlus being there as that vehicle to help these kids deal with some of these issues, help the parents, it can't help but help the academics.
The timely sharing of information, how it's so important to have someone that can navigate not only the students and the families through the healthcare system, but also bring all of the partners together so that we can collaborate and really do what's in the best interest of the students. We're seeing students that are so much more hopeful, are feeling good about being involved, are feeling good about the fact that they can approach someone right at their school site.
They're there in the schools, they tend to be there, and so you go in and you can see them for as long as you need to see them. So it could be a brief intervention, it could be a longer one, whatever works for the student and whatever is required.
First we had a meeting with our principals of the schools that we're supporting, and we looked at identifying what they saw as the needs of students and families within their families of schools, and as well as staff, where the gaps were. With that information then, we met as an advisory and looked at, as a group, what resources were available within the communities. And so we developed a chart and looked at what the gaps were, what the resources were to meet with those.
We've had support in terms of whole school support as well, for presentations that come during certain events like African Heritage Month. We bring in the African drummers, there's support in that regard. There's supporting for assemblies, for field trips, just to help us do as much as possible for the children.
I think that it's allowed the parents to come in and be more comfortable coming into the school, because they're coming in for SchoolsPlus, and then they're just more comfortable. Once they come in, they're like, oh, it's great.
It takes away that sort of the parent taking that step forward and coming into school. They may not want to come talk to a teacher or a principal or somebody like that, but if they have a community outreach worker to go to, it's a separate person.
The SchoolsPlus worker for us has been a blessing because A, he's well known in the community, knows a lot of parents and students, and does a great deal of work behind the scenes. And support comes in many different ways, as we know. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's just being there to be able to check in on their work, check in on their family and parents, and I think that's really what this is all about.
Just helping them figure out the IWK system, helping them sort of help kids navigate that system, doing a little bit of in-service. I'm also providing training to the go-to teachers. And the go-to teachers are the folks who maybe kids go to when they're in distress or they tend to talk to more. The advice I would give to any new mental health clinician would be really to be sure to connect with the administration and the guidance counselors in the schools. They know the kids so very well.
As a SchoolsPlus facilitator, I do go to the homes, especially in a rural community. We go to the homes myself, and I can also go with different agencies such as mental health, probation, etc. So it allows for me to meet the parents in the community when they may not have the chance to go 30 minutes to a clinic, and especially when they're working as well.
We get into cases where we do have to knock on doors in the morning at noontime to bring students to school. I know of cases myself where students have stated they wouldn't be in school but for the SchoolsPlus system and the personal contact that they've had with the facilitators and community outreach workers.
Raising a grandson when you're this age is not easy. So any help that I can get, I'll take gladly.
The hands-on work with the students, whether it be in the initial stages of rapport building where we're doing what seems like just playing a board game when really we're getting to know each other and building the trust, and it's definitely fun to watch that and watch the students open up more.
Also, there are some other programs that I know our facilitators provide in taking some of our students on day trips with some friends that again really helps to cultivate social skills, social awareness and empathy. So our facilitator has been a wonderful connector to other services and organizations that I may not even necessarily be aware of. Because there are so many families who can use that support beyond the school level. The fact that our facilitators work in the schools and in the homes and nights and weekends is phenomenal, because that is truly what many of our families really do require.
Meeting youth and families in their home is really important, because not all youth have had a positive experience, and likewise their family members may not have had a good experience with the school system as well, because oftentimes people will think SchoolsPlus, it's entirely a schools program, and that's not the case at all. So SchoolsPlus is something that occurs within the school, but it's also something that's outreach and it's community based as well, and that's something that's often overlooked, but it's very, very important to remember.
I've been really fortunate to be part of the same family schools that SchoolsPlus has been involved in. Sometimes it's making referrals to the principal that then filters down to them to do some home visits and some individual work with families in their homes. Sometimes it's been working with them on a health committee to determine what needs to be done throughout the school, so that services don't overlap.
I work with anyone who's involved with that child and that family to build a support system. I work from primary right up to high school, and sometimes beyond high school as students graduate and need our support a little bit longer. Part of our focus as well is to try to encourage students to come back to school if they've left for a while. Try to talk with them and find out what the issue might be. It could be an issue of bullying, it could be that they're in a program that they're finding too difficult. So we try to find a solution and maybe get some tutoring involved or put supports in place.
The best part was they started a program called Go Girls. And this program went on for, I believe, 8 to 10 weeks. And it was so nice because Jessica was able to meet other girls that she will go to school with in junior high next year, and start to make some connections now so she won't be so alone when she comes. One thing you have to understand about Jessica is she is very shy, very withdrawn. Well, she used to be, I should say that, because since she's been working with Bridget, she now walks around with her head up.
Some of the exciting things that we've done are Voices programs,
a program that empowers young female students, some anger management work that goes with that, the Gay Straight Alliance Committee. But wherever the emotional need is, our SchoolsPlus person serves that void.
It's been remarkable in terms of the amount of interaction that it's enhanced and increased with working with parents. And I guess the other piece is the component of bringing in outside services so that they're available here to the students at the school, easily accessible to students, and developing those relationships so that our students are getting services well beyond what we would have had in the past.
Working with outside agencies is sometimes mind-boggling for parents and for teachers, where that's not our realm and we're not quite sure of sometimes what needs to be done or what paperwork needs to be filled in.
To have that go-to person who has experience dealing with all of the different government agencies and service providers that we have, be it the SchoolsPlus facilitator or the community outreach worker, I find certainly most families who really need to access that support have a lot of difficulty dealing with those agencies. It can be very confusing, it can be very frustrating that they have actually gone and tried to access services, and due to the frustrations that they've met in trying to access those services, have actually thrown their hands in the air and given up completely. Thanks to SchoolsPlus and the fact that they can knock on doors and make phone calls and might have a direct line to somebody who can make something happen. We haven't noticed that in our community in the last couple of years. People are actually able to access the services that they need.
Some of the programs that SchoolsPlus offer are the Incredible Years Parenting Program, and of course that's geared more toward the parents than the youth, but it's nice to be able to, as the community outreach worker, touch base with the youth that have the parents participate in the Incredible Years Parenting Program, so I can go into the schools and into the classroom and interact with the kids, do outings with the youth. It's the Friends for Life program, and absolutely love that. You go into the classroom and you have, a classroom size, or you could do a small group session of building resiliency against anxiety.
Oftentimes I feel like families are coming to SchoolsPlus because they've either tried other resources in the community and haven't been successful, or feel like they don't have the right questions to ask, or extremely, they're just overwhelmed with the whole process. So being able to step in to advocate and to kind of help them navigate through the systems, families have responded very positively to that.
We do a lot to support students, not only academically but also emotionally. But 99.99% of the time, the student who needs support also comes from a family who may need support.
Ensure that you get the right people in the positions. We have to make sure that we have a facilitator who is really well connected, has the experience, and is able to reach out and network with the community. And also the outreach workers, we have to make sure we have the right people with the correct personalities in those positions.
To paraphrase a supervisor of mine who wrote, you might be only one person in all the world, but to one person you might be all the world.
The favorite part of this job, being the SchoolsPlus community outreach worker, is that no 2 days are the same. Every single time that you go into work, it's completely different, and what you think you may have planned ends up being something completely different depending on the phone call that comes in or the need.
There are students that we started with in grades 7 and 8 that are now graduating from school this year. And if you ask them, they'll say that they wouldn't be prepared to walk across the stage at graduation but for SchoolsPlus support.
I think every school should have a SchoolsPlus outreach worker. It's a benefit to the staff, the policing, and the students themselves.
So SchoolsPlus has been an absolute phenomenal supplement in supporting our children and our families. And I can't imagine being without it now that we have it. So I hope it goes on forever.